Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start with special presentations. So before I begin, I want to take a moment to recognize our Parks and Community Services team. It's that time of the year again where our events start picking up, so it's only right that we recognize them for their work, AKA my favorites and Claudia. My favorites and Claudia. You too, Jeremy. Yeah, just checking, okay. PCS, thank you for all that you and your team have done and continue to do to make Moreno Valley a beautiful and better place to live. And in the spirit of Moreno Valley's inherent beauty tonight, we are recognizing April 2025 as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. The city of Moreno Valley believes that art, culture, and creativity are essential to our thriving community, with art inspiring discovery, culture creating deeper connections, and creativity sparking innovation and growth. Along with our beliefs, the City Council and Public Arts Commission work to promote the arts through various programs, partnerships, and community building initiatives, including our public art program. These partnerships with regional and state level organizations are a part of our collective effort to bring together our community and look to change our lives for the better. Now to shed some light on Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, I'd like to invite Ms. Samantha Contreras, Chair of the Public Arts Commission, to accept the proclamation and share a few words.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Contreras and I have the honor of serving as a chair for the Public Arts Commission. It is with great pride that I stand before you today as we proclaim April as Art, Culture, and Creativity Month. First, I'd like to take a moment to recognize my fellow commissioners and our incredible staff who work tirelessly to support and promote the arts in Moreno Valley. Your dedication and passion make a real difference, and I am truly grateful to be a part of such an inspiring and team. As a resident of Moreno Valley for almost a decade, I find it really exciting to see how the arts have transformed and impacted the city. As someone who studies art, I know the arts are not just a form of expression, but a reflection of who we are as individuals and as a community. Whether through dance, music, visual arts, or storytelling, creativity has the power to shape our city's identity, enrich our daily lives, and create a lasting impact. We are fortunate to have a rich and diverse community, from talented youth, local artists and performers, to cultural events and programming that educate and engage by providing a space for connection and a platform for voices to be seen and heard. So, for this month, and hopefully beyond, I highly encourage everyone to embrace the arts by visiting a museum or a gallery, attending a performance, supporting our local artists, taking a tour of the different murals or art installations around the city, or even exploring your own creativity. Let's celebrate the power the arts have to connect, uplift, and transform. Thank you. Go Arts.
Thank you. Let's call everyone down to take a picture really quick.
Yeah, on the second step with him, and then kind of right over here. Over this way. There we go. We'll keep you right there. You can be on the bottom. Yeah. There we go. To the back, just a little bit that way. There we go. All right. Wonderful. And 1, 2, 3. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for all your work. Good to see you. Alrighty. Thank you so much to our Arts Commission and our local artists for everything that you do. Always very nice to highlight professionals that are here in the city of Moreno Valley. And thank you for your service on the commission as well, and to all of our commissioners that are watching at home. For our second presentation of this evening, we are recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month in 2025. And today is April 1st. So we begin this presentation with addressing a subject that is oftentimes difficult to talk about, but it is a necessity to talk about it. And that is child abuse. It's one of the hardest issues that we face, and it demands our collective attention and action. While this is a harsh reality, there is always hope. That hope lies in the organizations dedicated to fighting child abuse and in the communities coming together to prevent it. Through efforts like these, we work to protect our most vulnerable, our children. We are proud to highlight a county-wide initiative supported by partnerships between local government, community groups, and stakeholders. The Pinwheels for Prevention campaign, led by none other than the RUHS Foundation, is a shining example of how we can educate, raise awareness, and raise funds to prevent child abuse and neglect. This initiative encourages individuals and organizations to join the fight to protect the children of Riverside County. Tonight, we welcome Kareen Awad, the Director of Development at the RUHS System Foundation and the driving force behind the Pinwheels for Prevention Committee. If you and your team would like to join us here at the mic, and if we could give them a big round of applause as they come up. I should have worn a light blue today. So good to see you. Hey, so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And with this proclamation that we have here to our left, I'll read a little bit off of that. The proclamation reads as follows: whereas child abuse prevention is shared responsibility that requires the involvement of everyone, individuals, families, and organizations, to support family growth and future generations. And whereas child abuse impacts families of all backgrounds, regardless of social, economic, racial, or ethnic differences. Whereas effective prevention efforts depend on partnerships between social services, healthcare, schools, law enforcement, businesses, and the general public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley proclaims April 2025 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And without further ado, Kareen, I'd like to pass the mic over to you to share a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, and good evening. My name is Kareen Awad, and I'm the director at RUHS Foundation. And on behalf of the foundation, we want to thank the mayor, city council, and all the staff for their tremendous support each year for the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign that specifically focuses on child abuse awareness and prevention during the month of April. We really could not do the work that is happening at the center without support from many of our partners, including the City of Moreno Valley. And it really does make an impact and a difference to the children, not just here in your community in the city, but beyond through the different communities within the county. So thank you so much for that. I'd also like to introduce Crystal Shackelford, who actually runs the center here that's located in Moreno Valley. And her team is really out there doing the work for these families and children. Crystal?
Thank you. I was just reflecting. I was thinking, you know, I started my social work career in child welfare 29 years ago down the street in the Moreno Valley Office of Child Protective Services. And I can't believe it's been that long because I started when I was about 12. Of course, you know this, but it's been a long career in child welfare, and it is hard work, but I'll tell you that each one of you in the community make a difference. And the children know it, the families know it. There's nothing better than working together with a mom or a dad or both and helping strengthen that family to prevent something further from happening or worse from happening, helping provide them with resources, because that's really what it all boils down to is we all need connection. Families need connection. They need support services. They need to have someone else to reach out to when they're having a struggle, and that's really what the whole point of child welfare is. And at the RCAT Center, you know, people come to us usually after something has happened, but we're able to provide them with some comfort and all of the support that this community has given us over the years. The parents walk away saying, thank you so much for listening to us. the children walk away saying, I wasn't scared like I thought I was going to be. And really, that's the ultimate, that's really what we're looking for, is can people walk away a little stronger, a little more connected than they walked in the door. And it really takes the community, the city, everyone, neighbors and loved ones to help do that for each other. So thank you for your support very much.
Well, thank you so much. Sorry, I was running over here, so I'm a little hot. You might see me drop a sweat or two, a drop of sweat or two. But without further ado, I would like to present you this proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month here in the city of Moreno Valley. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. If my colleagues would like to join us.
She'll take a step this direction. We're gonna try to do the same setup we did in the kind of last photo. I'll get you on the second step.
For your pin.
Yeah, you can do it. You wanna get on the first step? There we go. And just a touch that way. There we go. All right. All right, and 3, 2, 1. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the previous presentation, Mayor Cabrera. As you all know, Los Angeles County dealt with some truly devastating, life-altering fires earlier this year. The worst being in the Palisades and Eaton areas. Combined, these fires burned over 37,000 acres, damaging or destroying nearly 20,000 structures. For 24 days, the Palisades and Altadena burned. But Moreno Valley was there on the scene, assisting our county brothers and cousins in stopping the spread of those tragic fires. In total, the city committed a total of 4 engines and 19 personnel to the fires. Engine 6 and 65 to the Eaton fire, Engine 2 and Brush Team 58 to the Palisades. Brush Team 58 also taking a trip to San Diego to assist with the Border 2 fire. These movements would have been possible if not for the leadership and dedication of Fire Chief Jesse Park, who oversaw the deployment as Division Group Supervisor. Thank you, Chief Park, for your leadership. And thank you to the captains and firefighters for your courage and commitment to public safety. Can we give them a round of applause, please? I know not everyone involved in the LA fire commitment is here tonight, but out of respect for those who were there, for their efforts, I'd like to list them and recognize them all for their service. And we will applause at the end. Okay. Captain Brian High, Captain Mark Lewin, Captain Jeff Scott, Captain Brian Merrill, Captain Carlos Nino, firefighters Ryan Taylor, Andrew Farquhar, David Beckett, Nicholas Rice, Jeremiah Contreras, Corey Theis, Trent Hauser, Kevin Caron, Lane Dowdy, and Paul Gilbertson. Thank you all for your service. Please, an applause. Chief Park, if you would like to say a few words on behalf of the efforts and what was accomplished.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be recognized, but it's a team effort. I want to say that although I was there for several weeks at Pacific Palisades, it was the combined effort of the crews that were there and especially the people that stayed at home to take up the work. The work never ends. And that's why I wish all of those 19 firefighters could be here right now. but they are on the job and they're running calls right here in the city. So I'm going to accept on their behalf, but I couldn't also do it without the support of our city managers, our mayor and city council for helping us get through this, and the support of fire has been fantastic. So I much appreciate it.
And now, can we take a picture? Or? No? No? Sure.
One, two, and three. There we go.
Appreciate it. Alrighty. Can we give it up again for our fire department, please? Yeah, I'm trying to get as fit as the chief, and I usually work out in the mornings. I decided to work out before here, so I'm like still trying to cool down. So I apologize for that, y'all. My heartbeat was still also a little higher. So for our fourth and final presentation of today, it's a special one because yesterday, as we all know, was Cesar Chavez Day. And there's so many things that can be said about Cesar Chavez and the labor movement, the farm workers movement, and everything that really is encompassed within Cesar Chavez Day. But to share a little bit about that, Cesar Chavez Day is a monumental reminder of the hard-won strides for social justice in the labor market, and it allows us to reflect on the work that lies ahead, because there is a lot of work that's still ahead for us. And ultimately, it's in the pursuit of building a brighter future for our entire community. Founding the United Farm Workers Union, Cesar Chavez fought for workers' rights to fair wages and working conditions, all of which are conducive to the overall well-being of the workers and their families. Despite the good nature of the union, Cesar Chavez faced many challenges along the path of equality. But rather than succumb to violence, Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union adopted nonviolent forms of protest, such as boycotts, marches, and hunger strikes, all while furthering optimism for his cause by coining the motto, Si se puede. And it's important to recognize this because there's so much that has happened throughout history, and oftentimes maybe things that we don't learn as we're moving through the educational system, or maybe it's just because of experience, right? That maybe our background, our families come from different places and we hear different stories as we grow up. But this is why it's so important to recognize these days, and especially individuals in the present day that are literally doing that work, that are carrying that torch that the Cesar Chavezes and the Dolores Huertas still carry to this day, that fire that burns inside of them to stand up for doing the right thing, to stand up for protecting those who can't protect themselves, and to speak up for those who oftentimes can't speak for themselves, or out of fear because of persecution or repercussions, don't speak up. And we need those champions to stand up and fight for the workers. And one of those champions is our very own Ricardo Cisneros from the Inland Empire Labor Council, also a Moreno Valley resident, very, very proud to say that. And at this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Ricardo Cisneros, the Executive Secretary, Treasurer, and Business Manager of the Inland Empire Labor Council, to the mic. If we could give him a big Moreno Valley welcome. So at this time, Ricardo, the floor is yours.
All righty, thank you very much. Good evening to you all. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. You guys doing good? In the words of Cesar Chavez, as he once stated, the boycott on grapes and lettuce was never about grapes and lettuce. It was about people. And that still continues today as we see the continuing attacks against federal employees and the working class as a whole. We have to continue that mantle and push that mantle forward and continue making it about people, because that's what helps build our communities up is the working class. Every single one of us in this room right now is part of the working class. No matter if you own a business, you're part of that working class because you're working to make yourself better. And that's what it's all about. The labor movement as a whole, it's about improving our communities and building our communities up. It's about helping workers, fight against poverty and climb out of poverty, to gain a better life for themselves and their families. And that's what the labor movement is about. It's about family. And that's why in the movement, we call each other brothers and sisters. So brothers and sisters, tonight here today, I'm here to stand to get a proclamation for Cesar Chavez Day, but this proclamation is for every single one of you. It's not for me, it's not for the Labor Council, it's for every single person that lives in Moreno Valley, every single person that's part of the working class. So thank you very much for all the work that you guys all do, everything that you do for the community. If it's the arts, if it's helping saving our homes, when they're on fire, if it's safety, when we need to call and need help and need assistance from our police and sheriff, thank you very much. Our city workers, thank you for the work that you do to make sure that this city runs efficiently the way that it does. And to the city council and mayor, thank you very much for the work that you guys do. Making sure and taking that step forward to help lead the city forward. And as a resident of Moreno Valley, I'm proud of my city. I'm proud of seeing the progress that we've had here. And I do want to see more progress come into our city. I want to see more jobs that are mortgage sustainable jobs come into our city. So let's start building on that to see how is it that we can make Moreno Valley better. Right? With the help of us as the labor movement, but the help from every single one of you, every single one of us doing our piece. So with that, thank you very much for being here tonight.
And with that, I would like to invite the rest of my colleagues so that we could take a group picture and also officially present the Cesar Chavez Day proclamation on behalf of the city of Moreno Valley. Alrighty, well, we had a jam-packed special presentations this afternoon. It is 6:03 now, so we will go ahead and officially conclude special presentations for this afternoon, but we will be back in just a minute or two to start our regular council meeting. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council here in the city of Moreno Valley. The City Council receives a separate stipend from the Community Services District if any CSD business is conducted during this meeting. I now call this meeting to order on April 1st, 2025 at 6:11 p.m. We will move into the Pledge of Allegiance. Would any of my colleagues like to lead us in the pledge this evening? Okay, Councilmember Gonzalez will lead us in the pledge this evening, and please remain standing after the pledge for the invocation given by Father Christopher Navarro from St. Christopher's Parish.
Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, Father.
Let us now put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord. And let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, author of our lives, help us to read what you have written on our hearts, to see more clearly our path of humble and selfless service to others. We ask you, O Lord, for your wisdom and grace tonight, as we discern for our call to leadership. We pray, O Lord, for this council meeting tonight, and give our council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on our city concerns before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight, for our benefit and for your glory. And with gratitude, we offer this prayer through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Father Christopher Navarro from St. Christopher's Parish. And next, we will go ahead and turn it over to our city clerk for a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Here.
Councilmember Delgado is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Here.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to item E, motions to excuse. And it looks like we have a motion to excuse, or a request from Councilmember Delgado to excuse his absence from this meeting, April 1st, 2025. And looking for a motion and a second.
I motion.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for the record, I'd like to state that Councilmember Delgado is at a DC training for the Joint Powers Authority, so he is on official business. Thank you. Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Staff introductions, please.
Patty Rodriguez, City Clerk.
Sonia Gomez, Management Assistant.
Stephen Quintanilla, City Attorney.
Brian Mohan, City Manager.
Dina Hill, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Robert Alvarez, Community Enhancement and Neighborhood Services Manager.
Melissa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Director of Parks and Community Services.
Robert Cardenas, Human Resources Director.
Melissa McLean, Economic Development Manager. Sarah Mack, Chief of Police.
And Jesse Park, Fire Chief.
Thank you very much, staff. It's always a pleasure to be in the chamber to conduct the people's business. That brings us to item G, approval of order of agenda. And I'm looking to my colleagues to see if there's any requests or any motions and seconds to approve the order of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next up is item H, public comments on matters not on the agenda. The city now offers language translation services through a free app called Wordly. The app automatically translates a variety of languages into English and vice versa. To use this service, please scan the QR code at the speaker's sign-up table. For the visually impaired, please use your earphones or earbuds to listen to the verbal translation. If you do not have any listening devices, please let the city clerk know, and we are more than glad to let you borrow one for this meeting. La ciudad actualmente ofrece servicios de traducción de idiomas a través de una aplicación gratuita llamada Wordly. Si alguien gusta usar este servicio, por favor nos avisan y entregue una tarjeta para hablar. Para usar la traducción, escanee el código QR que está en la mesa junto a las puertas. Before we move on to public comments, I'd like to remind everyone to direct their comments to the City Council. For comments on items on the agenda, each speaker will have a total of 3 minutes to comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
We do, Mayor. The first speaker is Seth Cox.
Good evening.
Good evening. Not sure why I always get called up first. Must be the red jacket. But I'd like to this may be interpreted as not in my backyard complaint or disapproval. I'd like to talk about the safe storage, self-storage facility, PIN 24064, that was conditional use permitted, approved by the Planning Commission last week. I am totally against it, and I'll tell you a few things why. But it's develop 126,000 plus square foot, 3-story self-storage facility, landscaping, lighting on 2.3 acres on the southeast corner of Merino Beach Drive and Alessandro, down one space, okay? Basically, it's a 40-foot, 37.6 foot high building. Each floor will be 42,000 square feet. And it has 887 storage units, okay, with only 14 parking spaces for all that. So basically, it is a high-rise warehouse. Thought we were done with warehouses in town, but I guess not. So I'm against it. Here's one reason I'm against it. In May of last year, it was approved across the street from it on the southwest corner of that, a storage facility for 993 storage units. So on that one corner, you're gonna have basically 1,880 storage units. I don't believe that's what the West End wants, or the East End wants. I don't think it's what it needs. That's prime real estate right there to get services, whether it's another grocery store, whether it's restaurants or whatever, that would benefit District 3 on that end and Moreno Valley as a whole, not other storage warehouse space. So that's what I'm against. Again, they presented a great picture, color picture, the right colors or whatever, but I mean, you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig, okay? That building doesn't match anything on the East End. 3-story building, you name another 3-story building down there, it doesn't fit, okay? Unless the new proposed new proposed project on the right and the corner is another 3-story building, then they'll have a matching sister to go with. So I would invite anybody that's watching in District 3 or anywhere in the city to come speak on it, whether you're for it or against it. Please show up somewhere, whether it's this meeting, a next meeting, when it finally comes up to you. You need to know how many people are for it and against it before you approve it, okay? You're only getting one-time fees. There's no continuing. So I think my 3 minutes are up, even though I don't have a clock. Can I do a Cory Booker and talk for 24 hours? I don't know. Thank you.
I don't know if we have those rules. Thank you.
The next speaker is Christopher Baca.
And if you could give us just a minute so that we can get the technical issues figured out here, please. If not, I could start one on my end if you'd like, just in case. Okay, I have it here just in case. So if you'd like to go ahead, you get 3 minutes.
All
Go
right.
right ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just wanted to speak on a couple of things that were mentioned at the last meetings where a couple of the speakers were mentioning something about the evilness that goes on in our city. And, crazies, including myself, always have some truth to what they speak. You may not agree on 90% of the stuff, but, there is evil in this city, and the evil, the recalls, what is it called? When you put I got a brain for it. Hold on. When you weaponize police against your citizens, and that's very evil, and that's what's occurred in this city. I don't understand how a developer is influencing our public safety and weaponizing it for his agenda. And that's been going on for decades here in Moreno Valley, as far as the recalls, as far as all the division there is. It all comes due to the evil, dirty, dark money that's infiltrated our city from developers, greedy developers, a greedy developer that is not going to build nothing in our city other than improve the worth of his properties, or these fake developments that he's supposedly doing, and that you've approved. One was recently, and that was influenced by political ads for certain candidates, and I'll go on that later. But anyhow, Mr. Kruger was mentioning he was being, the police was being weaponized against him, and we may not like neo-Nazis, but he has a right to be a neo-Nazi. He also has a right to deny the Holocaust. And I find it offensive when people laugh at people denying the Holocaust when every American denies a genocide that has occurred here. I may be going off topic, but there is an evil. Mr. Blackard also mentioned the evil that's in our city. And I know what that evil is, and it is an evil. And it needs to stop.
The next speaker is Roy Blackard.
Today, I announced I'm moving from Moreno Valley to Coachella, and I'm going to run for 4th District Supervisor against Victor Manuel Perez. I figured I finally found a city who is a bigger dumpster fire and has a worse school district than Moreno Valley. And you can watch the morning session of the County Board of Supervisors as me and old Victor have had a little spar going across for that, to put it in context of that. And I would also like to say, Mayor Baby Jesus, I thought it was pretty good of your executive order to rename Box Springs Mountain, Mount Moreno Valley, and Lake Paris, Lake Moreno Valley. I got a chuckle out of that one. This is a fun day. I enjoy April Fools. And I will tell you, 9 years ago, and people bid on this one like a rock. Chris mentioned the recalls. We had recalled Elena's mom and Tom Owings. And I wrote in 2016, 9 years ago, how Tom Owings was going to make a comeback and run for mayor again. And you would be surprised the amount of people that bid on that one. Even the mayor's partner in political crime, David Marquez, thought that was true too. So that's some of the fun stuff we go through on this day. All seriousness aside, I really do hope that we will all look, everybody, those in the dais, those in the well, the citizens, the couple of us left that are coming up here. No matter what, if you disagreed or that, man, there was, from the time my native area, which spans part of 7 decades, this city had a spirit. This area had a spirit. No matter, and we had some fun disagreements. We also had some very great times. The sad and the thing that breaks my heart about what I see today is that's pretty much gone. You see that reflected here, but this is just a reflection of what's going on in our city today. There's only one way that's going to change, and that's going to come from each and every one of us. Or it's going to continue on the current trajectory. But that's what's on the table today.
Mayor, that concludes all of public comments on items not on the agenda.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So we'll go ahead and move to the next item, which is I, the joint consent calendars. Before I open the consent calendar for public comment, I will bring it back to the dais and ask my colleagues if there are any items that they wish to remove from the consent calendar for separate action. I don't see any at the moment. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into public comment on this item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on item I?
We do, Mayor. The first speaker is Christopher Baca.
Good evening again. I'm wondering how a lot of these things that get into our, or whether the consent calendars that are slipped in there, I wonder if we have staff members that are subservient to special interests and the dark money. You know, this, what I'm referring to is improvements, road improvements, all the pavement improvements and all of that. Is the city going to slip in the stuff that is supposed to be paid for that was promised? Oh, by the way, what happened to the bridge, the Highland Fairview Bridge? I thought, you know, he had such a campaign on, oh, I'm going to build the bridge, I'll pay for it, I'll pay for everything. Now, Alessandro, that was within the WLC, is that included in this pavement stuff? Is that how this is going to, is this what the purpose of this whole thing is? To, this repavement? To pave Alessandro from Gilman Springs to Redlands within the WLC? That was part of the deal that he was going to pay for. Same thing happened with Nason. He was going to build Aquabella, so the city went ahead and cut Nason through. Whatever happened with that? Nothing. And nothing will ever happen with the new one that was slipped in. So my question is Alessandro from Gilman to Redlands, that's within WLC, that he promised he was going to pay for, now suddenly the city is part of that, is paving that. I think that's BS, and I think somebody needs to look into that. And if this goes through and that's included on there, I think we'll be hearing more on that. Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes public comments on items on tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So that brings us back to the dais for any deliberation or questions if desired. And I do have maybe 1 or 2 questions, maybe for clarification to follow up on public comment there from Mr. Baca. looking to staff to see if any of these items, I-4, I-10, have anything to do with, I think, if I understood correctly, it's the overpass over at the 60 freeway related to the WLC. Do any of these items have anything to do with that project?
The items before you tonight are just plans to meet on I-4, the RCTC requirement for Measure A. Measure A can only be used for maintenance purposes, not pavement rehab within the right-of-way. I-10 is a 5-year plan related to our condition pavement index, and that's just identifying the streets based on that index and the condition of our streets. Neither of those two items is actually earmarking any expenditures for actual expenditure. So it's just approving the 5-year plan. We would have to come back at a later date for construction of pavement rehab. I-4 is just to get past compliance with RCTC on how we're going to spend Measure A monies related to the maintenance of about $6 million that we receive annually from Measure A, and that Public Works uses in the right-of-way for striping, for street signage, for a multitude of various things, but not pavement rehab.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And I was going to ask a follow-up question about what, if you could expound on those two items, but you already hit the nail on the head there. So no pun intended, or maybe there is, but it's a good thing because you still get residents that ask about, potholes, and it's just kind of an issue that I think will exist in perpetuity until we don't use paved roads anymore at some distant future. But I'm glad to see that staff is working hard on making sure that we maintain these roads and infrastructure around the city. And then just a quick comment on item I-16. Yeah, that's the road closures for the March Air Reserve Base Air Show, or commonly known as the Southern California Air Show that takes place here at the March Air Reserve Base. Really glad that this is coming back. It is a free show to the public, so if you're watching this at home and you don't have anything to do on, what are the dates for that again?
The 11th and 12th.
April 11th and 12th, a Saturday and a Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. So if anybody doesn't have anything to do, you're looking for something fun to do with the family here in the area, it's going to happen right here in our backyard at March Air Reserve Base. There is a lot of people that visit. 2 years ago, there was approximately 400,000, a little over 400,000 visitors. So just keep that in mind as you're planning on going to the event, that there are lines to get in. Just maybe plan accordingly to make sure that you're not waiting too long and things of that nature. So we hope to see you there and hope you have a good time.
Mayor, just to provide you the specifics of the gate openings. The gates will open 8:30 and close on 5:30, Saturday, April 12th, Sunday, April 13th. Shows begin at 10 a.m., end at 5, and the road closures will start at 6 a.m. and end around 8 p.m.
Thank you, sir. All right, and I'll look to my colleagues again to see if there's any other questions, any other comments. If not, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
A motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Councilmember Bernard,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and Mayor Cabrera.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. And that brings us to J. We don't have any items on J this evening, which brings us to K, general business. Public comment on each general business item shall be limited to 3 minutes per speaker and must pertain to the subject matter under consideration. Those wishing to testify are encouraged to complete a blue speaker slip and submit that to the city clerk's office. Item K1 is an item to provide direction to staff regarding a request for proposal known as an RFP process to seek partners for the HomeKey Plus application funding. And we'll first start with a staff report, and I'll turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Brian Mohan.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. The item before you as titled is a report in which is about a 6 or 7 page staff report that is highly identified as to the regulations and requirements of the grant. I'm actually going to start in the discussion section and work my way backward. This particular funding, which is HomeKey Plus, is part of the Prop 1 that was approved by the voters in March of 2024. As part of that approval, the state is going to buy bonds that will then make these particular funding capabilities possible. So HomeKey Plus is going to be predicated off of a bond that would then go to local jurisdictions as well as needing concurrence from the county. So back in, when this was released in summer of 2024, we started doing our due diligence then. We met with the county representatives, Board of Supervisors, the CEO, as well as RUHS Mental Health, September 4th, to identify what they were planning to do with the 2 parcels that they own within our city. That particular meeting concluded. We continued to do our due diligence. October 21st of 2024, we began working with March JPA and US Vets to determine a partnership in order to fund the expansion of the US Vets facility there on the JPA. Between October 21st through February 14th, we had been working with both of those entities all the way up to February 14th, at which point US Vets had determined that based on all of their due diligence, that they would not be able to meet and perform based on the strict criteria related to this particular grant. And then on March 19th, I provided an update to the Homeless Ad Hoc Subcommittee, which then requested or directed me to come back to council with this particular request to open an RFP to find partners that meet all of the grant requirements and to submit an application prior to May 30th grant deadline. So that being said, this particular funding, roughly $1.096 billion to go towards housing as well as mental health related housing. And so there are specified eligible project types. There are multiple eligible uses, eligible applicants, population served within the staff report. The grant is specifically required to ensure that there are 3 years of continued operation after the grant funding ceases. So all of the items that I currently discussed and that are currently detailed within the staff report, along with those, along with the attachment to the staff report, will be part of an RFP if approved tonight, and we would be seeking partners that own the land, that provide the services at no cost to the city. We'd be out in the request for proposal for about 2 weeks. If you work back from May 30th timelines of council approval and so forth, we'll probably be out in the proposal for 2-3 weeks. And hopefully, if successful, be able to come back to council with a determination for approval from this particular body. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Bringing it back to the dais, are there any questions for staff? I have one question for you, Mr. City Manager. On page 3, I think this is straight from the California HCD. It's the application for HomeKey Plus. Just want to clarify to make sure I understand this correctly. Page 3, under the section that says timeline, the last point there under award announcement says continuous beginning May 2025. Does that mean that there is an initial deadline of May 2025, but they will still be accepting applications even after that with potential future funding opportunities?
This particular timeline here and the document that is attached to this particular staff report was an HCD document for application requirements that was released pre-November 2024. Subsequently, they have made some modifications to timelines. In fact, they have come out with a hard May 30, 2025 deadline for applications, because if you notice, the final application due date was technically mid to late January, and then depending on whether or not you had gap financing, regional pools, or tribal projects, there were potentially alternative deadlines from the mid to late January 2025 application deadline. The continuous beginning May 2025 is supposed to be the award of announcements. So now, with the May 30th hard deadline on the applications, announcements will be probably July or August, and that timeline has changed. I kept it consistent within the staff report because it's the only complete guideline for applications from HCD other than just specific one-page announcements that have come out changing the timelines.
Got it. Thank you. I was reading it a little differently. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. If there's no further questions from the dais, we'll go ahead and move into public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have any requests to speak tonight.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into council deliberation if desired. And I'm looking again to my colleagues to see if there's any comments. Councilmember Gonzalez.
I thought there was going to be public comments, so I have a question for staff, for Brian. Brian, do you, being that we don't have any available land for a project, how do you foresee that partnership with a provider or whatnot? How is that, or the barriers that we may have because we don't have that city-owned land per se?
I think a lot of agencies and entities and jurisdictions up and down the state are still struggling to answer that exact question. In fact, I've been in touch with the county representatives today, and they currently haven't identified a specified project area within the county as well. Although they do have 2 parcels within our city from an RUHS perspective. So if you look at RUHS expansion plan, could they tap into some of this funding for that expansion? And then in essence, we would support that particular project. To answer your specific question, us not having the land, what we're doing in the RFP is we're actually looking for somebody who owns the land, who operates this type of facility. Kind of hard to find that within our city, because if I knew who it was, I would go contact them directly. So there again, there's a lot. If the county hasn't even been able to get their ducks in a row to get ready for an application May 30th, you know, they're a fairly large county in the state. Other colleagues of mine are also trying to rush to figure out how do we go about doing this. Or if you recall, these were mental health funds that were going to the counties before Prop 1. With Prop 1, the state now takes those funds and uses that to pay off the bonds. But all projects have to be approved by the county because they're county mental health related. And so I think there's a lot of learning going along with a lot of urgency trying to find partners that are completely different than Homekey. Because Homekey didn't have the mental health aspect. It had the homeless aspect, but not the mental health. And now you bring in that, and it even narrows the scope to the previous Homekey project. So it is difficult.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as you really explained in the staff report, some of the history here since October, I believe it was, starting over at the JPA, we initiated conversations with the U.S. Vets, which is just outside of city boundaries, right here off of Heacock. It's on the March JPA property. And there's a housing facility there for homeless veterans and their families, which has been years in the making. And ideally, that would have worked out and an application would have been submitted with U.S. Vets. Unfortunately, that just didn't pencil out in the end with them, but we'll see, right, what comes out of this, if there is any interest, right, what comes back, and then see where we go from there. But, you know, ultimately, we know that there's a housing crisis across the country, and even worse here in the state of California, and trying to find ways of bringing more units online is, in my opinion, the single most important thing that we can do to address housing crisis, housing affordability, get folks under a roof and into a home. So appreciate staff working on this. We'll see what comes back through this RFP process and see what the council decides in the end. Are there any other comments, any other questions before we make a motion in a second? Okay. I don't see any, so at this time, is there a motion and a second to approve staff's recommendations?
I make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Bernard?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz?
Yes.
And Mayor Cabrera?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That motion carries. That brings us next to item L, which is Regional Commission Committee Board Reports. And it looks like we have, I don't know if it's one or three. We for sure have at least one. We might have three. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz for WRCOG.
Thank you. This report is from the March 3rd Western Riverside Council of Governments Executive Committee meeting held at the county building. Western Riverside County Clean Cities Coalition's activities updated us. They kicked off their Municipal Green Zones project on February 5th, 2025. The project is funded through a joint CARB and California Energy Commission grant and is aimed at supporting zero-emission vehicle deployment in the subregion. The coalition continues its work with electric vehicle car share operator EV Guide to deploy vehicles in the subregion. The project is supported by a $1.8 million grant from CARB Clean Mobility Options Program. And the coalition will host the Inland ZEV Forum in late summer 2025 and will host forums, workshops, and an expo. Moreno Valley will have one of these EV Guide car share operator vehicles able to be deployed out of the Moreno Valley Mall. So the point of that is to be able to take public transportation to a centralized point, borrow an electric vehicle to get to a destination that is not accessible through public transportation, and then be able to bring that vehicle back so others could use the same vehicle. But this is a pilot program. It'll start here in Moreno Valley at the mall. So we're looking forward to that partnership with WRCOG. The next item is the Environmental Department Program Activities Update. They had over 22 communities participate in the Love Your Neighborhood program and rescued 91,000 pounds of edible food through the food rescue program. And then another item was the consideration of opposition to the SCAT QMD proposed amended rules 1111 and 1121, seeking to reduce nitrogen oxide emissions by transitioning residential furnaces and water heaters to zero emission alternatives. The next meeting will be on Monday, April 7th at 2 p.m. at the County Riverside Administrative Center in downtown Riverside. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And we do have two more reports. I'll turn it over to Councilmember Bernard for RTA.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'm providing updates from the March 27th RTA Board of Directors meeting. The board heard a presentation on the procurement process for liability insurance and risk management services. They awarded $835,842 contract to Alliant Insurance Services Incorporated. And that concludes my report on the last RTA Board of Directors meeting. Again, please, 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 18 and under, they are still providing free rides on the RTA service until June 30th of 2025.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Bernard. And the final report that we have for this evening is from RCTC, a very brief one. This is a RCTC Budget and Implementation Committee report for the meeting held on March 24th. The committee heard a presentation on the Van Pool program, which offers Riverside County commuters a convenient and cost-effective alternative to driving alone. The agreements were awarded to Enterprise Rent-A-Car and Green Commuter. Additionally, the committee received updates on state and federal legislation. This concludes my report on the March 24th RCTC Budget and Implementation Committee meeting. That concludes the Regional Commission reports for this evening. Next is item M, Employee Association report. We don't have one this evening, which brings us to the legendary City Manager's report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just a few items tonight. Again, I'm going to apologize if I continue harping on Parks and Community Services. It just happens to be the time of the year in which we really get going on most of their projects and most of their events. So Springtastic, we do have April 12th from 9 to noon. Adult Flashlight Egg Hunt is April 19th from 6:30 to 9. And Earth Day celebration is April 26th from 10 to 1. With that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. And that brings us to item O, City Council closing comments. And we will go to District 4 with Councilmember Bernard.
Thank you, everyone. So I just want to, you already heard our city manager discuss our upcoming egg hunt event. He probably still forgot the favorite that everyone has, the adult egg hunt that is coming up. So please, please, please make sure of that. Also, you've heard that we are going to be having, on the weekend of April 14th, we're going to be having the air show. So please make sure, unless you're going there, to avoid Cactus, to avoid getting off on Cactus, avoid getting off on Van Buren. Matter of fact, get off on Alessandro and just come all the way around. Take it all the way down to Indian to be safe, honestly. And so there's a lot of things going on in the city of Moreno Valley, a lot of events coming up. So please make sure you're out to enjoy those events. And I will continue to close as I will, and from now until the end of this administration, that every time I think this administration can't get any worse, we hit the floor and we go straight below that every time. So I want to do a call out to First Amendment right protections. We allow people to come in here. You can say what you want. You have the freedom of religion, freedom of the press. You have freedom of speech. And what we are seeing happening continuously is a freedom, is an attack on your right to protest. And pulling that information out, right now we're on student visas. Pretty sure we're going to extend that pretty soon to legal permanent residents. Oh, wait, we already have. And we're just going to take them without the right to due process. So I'm going to, as I always would advocate, is for people to pay attention to what's happening, to be aware, and to know that it is okay to have an opinion. Regardless of what this administration will tell you, it is okay to have an opinion. It is not okay to snatch people off the street, not afford them the right to due process, which we are all given protection under the Constitution, including whether or not you are here legally or not, you do have the right to due process, as dictated by the Supreme Court. Justice Scalia, one of the most conservative justices we've ever had himself, says you are afforded that right if you are in the United States of America. And when when people are taken off the street in the middle of the night and we don't know where they are and they end up in Louisiana, or worse, an administrative error occurs and for some reason you have a father who was not a criminal sitting in a jail in Venezuela and you don't know how to get him back because you've sent him to a supermax prison because that's where you're sending my tax dollars, instead of giving tax dollars to children for their food and meal programs, instead of making sure that Social Security is still thriving. Heck, let's just even talk about the recession that we're going to be in. And yet I said the R word, even though I've been trying to avoid it. You can't fire as many people as they are laying off at the federal government. And I know someone's going to probably message with their little Twitter fingers right now and say, yes, but it happens in private equity and private firms all the time. That is true. But you cannot lay off this many people this fast and not figure that at some point you're going to have some type of financial and economic repercussion of it. So I will implore people, as I always do, to see the humanity in everyone. And I know that people don't believe in collective bargaining, but as we were talking earlier about Cesar Chavez, who, you know, many of our leaders are flawed in different ways. The right to collective bargain is what gets us all at the table to make sure that we all have equity, to make sure that we are raising the working class, as you've heard my brother Ricardo Cisneros say earlier, because that at the end of the day is what this is about. This is about making sure that we are all part of the working class contributing. I do not believe that what's happening in this country today is something that our founding fathers intended for it to happen. I believe that they intended for this country not to return to a monarchy, which we slowly are, since people believe we should have America being ran like a company with a CEO. America is a place where we have humans that are supposed to take care of each other and see the humanity in each other. And for those of you that just tell me, well, you know, we don't need laws in place for those things to happen, you know, if people were going to do it, the laws wouldn't even be necessary. Plessy v. Ferguson, let's see, Brown v. Board of Education. There's just a number of things that if it was to be, people would just do it. But we all know that people are human and we have to be forced to do things. So please take care of each other in the next and upcoming few weeks. And hopefully we as a people can rise above this. And shout out to Cory Booker today for 25 hours on the floor to discuss the people's business.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Bernard. Next up, we will go to District 3 with Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for continuing to watch on the various platforms. First, want to mention last Friday took a tour of RUHS and also the mayor was there as well. Gave us an overview of the expansion that will be taking place in the next couple of years. Exciting things happening there at RUHS, really pushing integrative services for physical, mental, and behavioral components, making sure that our residents, our county is growing by leaps and bounds. So it's important that that site, that property gets filled in, gets built out with various facilities and accommodates our growing population here in the not only in the city of Moreno Valley, but also that services the whole county. One project that you know caught my interest was the Wellness Village out in Mead Valley. It's an 18-acre site that's going to offer many services that will treat the individual in a holistic manner, and it's hopefully slated to be completed sometime next year, and it's going to be a good thing. Hopefully every supervisory district will have one, so looking forward to that. So a lot of good things happening at RUHS, and great staff, great team that they have over there, great county employees. Attended the Library Commission last week, a week and a half ago, kind of going back to what's happening in our country. The commission members had some concerns about when I attended the meeting, there was just announced the Department of Education, right, being pretty much closed down, and their concerns about the Institute of Museum and Library Services, staff reductions, layoffs, and the trickle effect that it will have to libraries, local libraries, and other, and then transferring student loans to the SBA. And so there's a lot of concerning things happening with the administration. So that's something to watch and be cognizant of. Right after the Library Commission, I went to the kind of a lighter note, the Moreno Valley Wind Symphony. First time. It was a great event. I'm a Star Wars fan, so had a great the music of Star Wars. So it was very nice. Also the as I mentioned, Springtastic, right, on the 12th, and the air show. So please make time to attend these events. They're great events for the community, and look forward to seeing everyone there. And also just want to close with Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez showed us the power of unionizing, collective bargaining, the importance of making sure that people are being treated as people, as humans, and the importance of sticking together, of making sure that everyone is represented, making sure that everyone's rights are heard, our voices, and the importance of not only farm workers, collective bargaining, unions, and we are the engine of America. So we should always remember Cesar Chavez and everything that came out of that movement. So with that, and also thank you, city staff and workers for doing all you do, and for responding to my inquiries, my emails, CRMs, and whatnot. So always looking forward to that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Member. Next up, Mayor Pro Tem Baca Santa Cruz.
Thank you so much. I wanted to share that we have some upcoming events. A lot of them have already been announced, but I also wanted to announce that on Saturday we'll be having a drive-through shredding. So if you have a lot of paperwork that you need to get rid of, you can drive through our city yard this Saturday. On Sunday, you can get rid of your electronic recyclables at Vista Heights Middle School. And next Saturday will be the Springtastic at Sunnymead Park. And the following Saturday will be the adult flashlights. Always a fun event. We recently, Shaylinda Bernard and I both attended the Moreno Valley Police Department's Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. So thank you, Chief Mack, for the invitation. It's always a great time to go out there and have some time to sit with the explorers who are very visible throughout the city at all of our events, working hard. So we hardly have time to catch up, but it's really a nice dinner to be able to talk with the youth about their plans. A lot of them planning going into law enforcement, forensics, the FBI, and a lot of them are women. So it feels really good to be able to have Chief Mack out there in front, and so many of the explorers being women. It's really proud. I'm so proud to be able to say, well, our captain's a woman, and they really look up to her, so it's nice to be in the room. And we also have our adult volunteer program. We don't see them too much because they're usually places where we're not. They're, holding down the traffic from an accident so an investigation can be taken. They're waiting with a car that needs to be towed so an officer can move on to their next call. But all of these volunteers, whether they're explorers or the police volunteers, are so essential in keeping our city running and helping our officers get to the real emergencies while they hold down the smaller things that they can be left with. So it's nice to be able to come and serve them a meal and show our appreciation. We rolled up our sleeves and officers and the chief and I got to serve them. So it's nice to be able to serve those who serve us. So I really enjoy attending that each year, and thank you for the invitation. I also attended my committees, the Environmental Historical Preservation Committee, who are still putting together their goals for the year, but of course they are going to be starting the Moreno Valley flag competition, so look out for information coming on redesigning the city flag. I also attended the Utilities Commission, and their item, the equipment that they have and plan to purchase was just approved here in our consent. So it's nice to see that it's vetted by our community and our commissioners and given their review before it comes up to us. So it's nice to be able to see the process all the way through. So that's my new committee, so I'm really enjoying that. I also took a tour of the RUHS. Councilman Gonzalez shared a lot of the items that were on the tour, but what I found, because I go to that ER, most impressive was the amount of time they've reduced from the wait. They've actually put a not police, I'm sorry, wrong lane, doctor right in triage. So you went from seeing a doctor within 8 minutes of checking in to seeing them first. So they're triaging you with an RN and a doctor right away, and you can possibly be walk in and get a prescription if it's easily able to be done and be out of there without even having to go to the back. So they have a control tower practically, and they do highly technical work to try and get everybody in and out. And so they've done a lot of improvements, and they have a lot of future improvements that they are planning. So I'm very proud to have them right in our backyard. And finally, just we were closed yesterday in honor of Cesar Chavez, so I feel proud that our city, like our school districts, there's not everybody is able to shut down in honor of his legacy, and so I'm proud that we do that here in the city. So with that, I will see you next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And a few items here. Happy April Fool's Day to everyone. It was interesting to see the various government posts, different cities and counties that were posting, their April Fool's posts. So it was nice to see. Some folks didn't get it until maybe later, but hopefully they got it at the end of the day. Also had a chance to attend the RUHS tour with Councilmember Gonzalez. Had a chance to sit down with leadership there and have a conversation about various things happening. I won't repeat what has already been said by my colleagues, but one thing that really stood out to me, because I'm very tech bullish or tech heavy, I was really glad to see how they've innovated their internal systems, both software and hardware, to make all of their processes and procedures more efficient, streamline everything, and like Mayor Pro Tem said a moment ago, get people in to see the people that they need to see faster and get them home faster as well. So really, really proud of the work that they're doing, and hope to see a positive grant funding award announcement sometime in the near future for Proposition 1, so we can expand the medical campus there on Cactus. Also, last week, I had the opportunity to attend the Latino Leadership Program. This was the Inland Civil Rights Institute located in the city of Riverside. They had a program where they brought in a group of youth to make pitches. So it was a combination of nonprofit organizations, for-profit businesses that they were pitching ideas. I was sitting on the panel with a couple other local leaders, giving feedback, listening to the presentations, and really just helping them. These are high school juniors and seniors. So it was really, really nice to just see the ideas that they brought forward, because it fills you with hope. Right? Just how amazing these young students are, how extremely articulate they are, how confident they are, and they're just so forward thinking. So I appreciate the Inland Civil Rights Institute for letting me participate in that. Also, shout out to city staff, Public Works, Melissa and the whole team. IE Equipment Rodeo, that was fun. I didn't get to wear my hat. I should have, but it was a really nice opportunity to just see new equipment, right, that is being used in the public workspace, and to also see that it's hosted here in the city of Moreno Valley this year. So you brought folks from all around the Inland Empire. You had staff from Corona and from all, corners of the IE coming here. So that was really nice. And I got an opportunity to get into, I don't even know what it's called. It's not a excavator, but
skid steer,
right? I didn't get on the forklift because you need a certification, but I got on the skid steer, and I think I came in 3rd or 4th place, and it was my first time ever using it. So those video games, they do come in handy, right? When you're a kid, it comes in handy eventually. Wake Up Moval had a chance to attend there, give some city updates over at the Aris Hotel with the Chamber of Commerce. Also had the opportunity to join Karma Automotive at their event called Create Karma. This happened in the city of Irvine. I was honored to sit on a panel with professionals, including the CEO of Karma, Marcus McCammon, also Dr. Rosalinda from UCR, and the mayor of Irvine, and a couple other folks, just to give our perspective on workforce development, challenges, solutions, things that we're implementing here in the city of Moreno Valley. So I really appreciate Karma for letting me be a part of that. And they also unveiled their new vehicle, which was nice. So really, really proud to have that here in the city of Moreno Valley and know that they manufacture those luxury EVs here in Moreno Valley. They are made in Moval. And lastly, Councilmember Bernard really went into it, so I won't repeat what she said, but tonight there is a Wisconsin Supreme Court election that will be hopefully announced. Results are still coming in. I think it's about 55% of the vote is in. And the reason why I point that out is because, as we've all seen probably in the headlines, Elon Musk made headlines because he went out to give 2 checks, each worth $1 million, to get folks to vote in that election. And we all should have serious concerns, not just the fact that they feel so emboldened to explicitly do these type of things. Any reasonable person knows that that's completely illegal, but there are certain people in this country right now in leadership that feel like they can push these boundaries and continue to get away with things. And one of the worst decisions ever made in our judicial system in this country was Citizens United, that just opened the floodgates to super PACs and private money to just infiltrate campaigns and elections all across this country. And unfortunately, we're seeing the repercussions of that. Just endless pits of money that are flooding elections all across the country. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I do have hope because of leaders in the past like Cesar Chavez and people that we have here in our very own community that are standing up, speaking up, fighting back, peacefully resisting and protesting against injustices that are happening and things that need to be pointed out. And with that, we will... Oh, okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So getting a request from Mayor Pro Tem here to close this meeting in honor and memory of Roy Bleckert's mother and her passing, Miss Ann Bleckert. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So we will close this meeting in honor of Ann Bleckert, and we will officially adjourn at 7:14 p.m.